solo camping or solo experiences. Number one, what led to me jumping in head first, if I'm going to be quite honest, into self-discovery. For one, was going to my home country. I was born in Canada. I'm first generation Canadian. My parents were from the small island of St. Vincent. And in 2015, I just decided, you know what? I'm going to go to St. Vincent. And I remember going on Airbnb. I found this beautiful, beautiful little bottle house. And what I did, without even having my passport, not even confirming the days off of work, I booked this Airbnb for 2.5 weeks without having my passport, without taking the days off of work, and just did it. I got my passport, dealt with all of that. I went to St. Vincent and I stayed in this beautiful bottle house. And the funny thing was, when I actually showed up to St. Vincent, my flight and everything landed at like 12, like 11:30. Went through customs. By the time I got out, it was 12 o'clock. Now, I was all by myself in a country I haven't been in since I was 15. And now I had to find my way to this Airbnb and had to trust myself. There's no crutch or anything to rely on. I didn't tell any of my family members in St. Vincent that I was coming down there. I wanted to surprise everybody. So I remember I hopped into a taxi. And my dad told me specifically, don't pay more than $100, or don't pay $100, or don't pay more than X amount because they're going to charge you double because they know you're a foreigner. Well and behold, I did pay that, but I didn't care. I wanted to get to where I needed to get to. What I realized, what happened was they dropped me right where I was supposed to be, like right where the property was. And I had nothing. Here's your bags, here's your stuff. All right, bye. And the only lights that I had were the lights from the van as it was slowly pulling away. I'm standing in the middle of the jungle with these jungle ant with like the sound, like, oh my God, it's anxiety. Talk about anxiety. The sound of the jungle. It's not something that you listen to with headphones. It's different listening to headphones and being there physically. And what I experienced in that moment was true, authentic anxiety. What am I doing? I had my flashlight, and what I needed to do was find my cabin. So I was in the jungle with my flashlight and my phone, trying to find my cabin, and I found it. And I was terrified. I'm not even going to lie to you. I was terrified. Put my suitcase away, locked the door, and went to bed. And it was a bottle house. So keep in mind, if you look at the images, you'll see that the entire thing is made out of like recycled wine bottles and shells. Like, it's a very unique place. And that trip changed my life, because it showed me that I could rely on myself to have the experiences that I sought out to have. And that's ultimately what it did. I was going on adventures and doing all of these things by myself and trusting my instincts and pushing past the anxiety. Because one thing I could have done was just stayed on the property and not gone outside and not went to town, into the city, or call it town, going into town, not the capital. I could have just stayed, but I decided to challenge myself and use the prior positive reference points as a way to push myself into my anxiety. And on top of that, I went to an island called Beckway, and I had to take a ferry there. And I remember being on the boat and just being like, oh my God, like I'm here I'm doing this. And I met some other solo travelers on my way there. And I spent the night at Beckway. I did everything I wanted to do, regardless if I was by myself or not. Went to the beach, swam. I actually even did a climb to the highest mountain point on Beckway on a rainy day. And there's also videos there as well that I'll add to this video. And that positive reference point sparked my journey for wanting to continue to have these experiences. And I think the most interesting thing out of that entire memory, aside from being in St. Vincent, was actually when I saw my parents. When I came home that day, I'll never forget this, the smile on my dad's face and my mom on her face, my parents' face, but my dad in particular, is the fact that I decided to go back home to see and feel and touch everything, to see the place where my parents came from, that allowed me to have the perspective that I have on life now. I understand why they left there to come to Canada to give me the opportunities which I have been afforded. So what I'm ultimately trying to say with these solo experiences, or the solo traveling or whatnot, is On the other side of that anxiety, on the other side of that fear, is an opportunity to learn more about yourself. Whether it's learning more about yourself through your culture, whether it's learning more about, when I say culture, I think the important thing about that is, especially if you're a first generation Canadian, American, whatever that might be, I think it's really important to touch base with the culture your parents came from, to have a better understanding of where you come from and where your parents come from, and ultimately the soil that created you. And I think it's important that you actually go back and metaphorically, physically touch the dirt from which you came. I think that in itself is a transformative experience that I think everybody should experience at least once in their life. But yeah, I'll leave it at that.